are you guys doing? Welcome to Phie.Love Intuitive Conversations. I hope you guys are good. Yeah. If you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, if there's any negativity, if there's any hate, please do keep that on your side of the street, okay? Won't be acknowledged. So, family, in this video, I'm being guided by Spirit to. Okay, the message from Spirit today is let your attention belong to your life, okay? Most of us, a lot of us, we're not conscious about how, we're not conscious over our own ownership over our attention, right? We don't think about the ownership of our attention. We don't think about or consider what or who is generally owning our attention, because you're too focused on whatever it is that you're trying to constantly keep yourself busy with, whatever it is that you're trying to be a part of, right? That you don't consider whether you have ownership of your attention, whether your attention belongs to your life, or whether your attention belongs to the noise of the collective, to the suggestions of the collective, to the experience of the collective that you want to be a part of outside, the experience that you want to be seen relevant within, right? If you take a moment, even now, pause the video and take a moment to consider when last you really sat down with yourself, and, or if ever, you've sat down with yourself and tried to consider the ownership of your attention. Does your attention belong to your life, or does your attention belong to the collective and whoever else it is on the outside of you in your immediate world? Does the screen also own your attention? Do the messages that you engage in back and forth throughout the day that add absolutely nothing to your life and your experience and your growth and your expansion and your forward movement, that do those people, do those things own your attention? You being consumed with your personal image on what the outside might think and judge you to be, does that own your attention? How many of you can say that your attention actually belongs to your life? And when you think about how you're actually giving your attention over to so many things, how many things own your attention, it really puts into perspective how unattentive you are to yourself, your life, and your own development, your own creativity, your own growth, and the focus that you are not putting onto yourself and what it is that you should be focusing on to do with yourself, also within yourself, to have the next step clear and visible to you, to have a clear mind that is and making decisions that are born out of your own focused attention on yourself and what it is you have going on in your life, and not always having it be consumed and owned by all the other things on the outside of you. Something to think about. How much of your attention is owned by scrolling? How much of your attention is owned by trying to control things and people on the outside? How much of your attention is focused on how it is you're going to defend yourself and hide who you are and what you are, and consistently have control over what you want the outside world to see you as, right? How much of your attention is owned by trying to find validation, trying to find approval, trying to find the opinion of something or someone on the outside of you, to occupy your mind again with trying to decide what you're going to do in your life next, or what the next step is going to be, or where you're going to spend your money, or whatever it is. You have no ownership of your attention and no conscious awareness of the fact that you have a choice. You can choose to own your attention. You can choose to not give the ownership of your attention over to all the other things. But again, it's intertwined with all the addictions, right? It's intertwined with all the insecurities. It's intertwined with all your fears. It's intertwined with your with you feeling lost and the confusion that you have, yourself unconsciously constantly engulfed in, and trying to find the answers and the reasons and the opinions and the views and the validation of, for decisions you're thinking of making, decisions you want to make or are going to make, or are in the process of, deciding how to make. All of it, your attention is focused on trying to find, the pathway and the direction within everything on the outside. But it's not on you. Your attention doesn't belong to your life. It belongs to what you're trying to equate your idea of life to on the outside, if that makes sense. Whatever you've been projected to whatever's been projected to you to believe your life should be, you're trying to equate the way you're curating and building up your life to be, to match up to that to match up to the projection, right? That's where your energy and your attention is focused. And I mean, when you actually sit down and take a moment to really consider it and recognize, man, I actually haven't been in control of my own attention. Everything else on the outside of me has been in control of my attention. Can you imagine what it is that you could do, what it is you could accomplish, where it is you would probably be going, what your life would probably be all about if you were actually focused and your attention actually belonged to you and your life? You'd be able to pick up on the communication from the divine. You'd be able to, find your own way through your journey and your experience that is emanating and that is being guided from the inside, from the higher realms, right? You would be focused on yourself and you'd be able to understand yourself, understand your thoughts. You'd be able to sit in quiet presence without having to always be distracted and interfere with your with your focus on yourself by always having to pick up the phone and see what someone has said. Has the phone vibrated? Is there a new story? Is there this? Is there that? Let me update and check on this app and this app and this app. What's happening on the Netflix? What's happening over? That's what people are looping on and consumed with. And if it's not all of that, then it's money. Then it's, then it's their children. Then it's their frustrations. Then it's their fears. Then it's the family problems, because everybody is also through drama trying to get attention and validation from one another. You're frustrating each other. You're projecting onto each other. It's your emotions. It's you always looking for the next big event that's going to trigger you and, how to say, People are programmed to look to expect and look for the next triggering event, living in fear, waiting, because you're programmed by news and all these other things also, right? Constantly living in tension and fear, waiting for the next thing that's going to happen, waiting for the next thing you have to protect yourself from, waiting for the next thing you feel that you're going to have to defend yourself on, waiting again. Then it's the things that you're intoxicating yourself with to escape from everything that unconsciously, that's constantly consuming you and constantly occupying your energy and your attention and your thought space. There's a lot going on, and it takes only you to make the choice to sit down and think about it all. Think about where you can actually release, where you can stop being in fear, where you're actually holding on to things, where you're not letting go. Why are you, ask yourself, what owns my attention? What am I so consumed in? What is occupying my energy? Where have I placed more importance on things that don't actually require me to place any importance onto them? What is my attention focused on when it comes to things that make me feel important, make me feel like I'm, something in society, like I'm going somewhere, like I'm doing something? What owns my attention when it comes to my fears around money and my stability? What owns my attention when it comes to my programming around love life, around my fears of being alone? What's consuming my attention when I'm stressed about my stability, when there's anxieties around my future? Because I'm also in the programming of, having to always make sure that I'm in the position of looking like I know what I'm doing. That's also another layer of stress to be in. Like I'm doing something with my life. Programmed to the human construct of time and calendars and all these things and events coming up and satisfying this person and people pleasing over there. All of these things are looping. Where's the time for quiet presence? Do you recognize that you don't own your attention? Your attention doesn't belong to your life. And the things that hinder you from allowing your attention to be owned or to belong to your life is your fear. It's fear hindering you. Fear of missing out. Fear of not being validated. Fear of not being seen. Fear of not being relevant. Fear of not having. Your lack programming. Addictions. So if you're going to start embarking on a process of trying to reclaim, or for the first time maybe even just start learning how to own your own attention, how to build your own sovereignty around your attention and your boundaries, and be more conscious about what you do and don't give your attention to, how many apps and social media things that are constantly pulling on your energy, constantly consuming your attention, your mind, and your space. How many unnecessary friendships and relationships on the outside of you. All the superficial bullshit that you're engaged in with people on the outside to feel relevant and like you're somebody. When you start now moving in and embarking on a process to try and take more control of your attention, to try and be more decisive and more aware on what it is you're giving your attention to, How long are you, how much attention are you giving to something? Is something worth you still giving your attention to it? Is the attention you're giving to something actually good for you? Is it doing you any good? Or is it just, again, another area where you're squandering your energy? Where can I redirect some of my attention to focus on me, to focus on my life, to focus on my creativity? Where can I let go of things? Where am I actually, making myself more responsible for things and giving myself more things to have to commit to and be obligated to than necessary, that are also consuming my attention? Where can I decrease the amount of things I have in my life that keep me hooked in a constant monthly loop cycle, weekly loop cycle, that keep me entrenched into the human construct of time? Where am I too focused on futile things that I've been programmed to believe are the things that make me feel like I'm important, the things that make me believe and think and assume that society will see me as an adult? Where am I actually, feeling where, how am I going to say this? Where am I consumed unconsciously with believing that, have the more bills I have, my ability to pay bills makes me important, makes me somebody, makes me a somebody in life. Whether I'm paying my bills or whether I'm able to pay other people's bills, which again is also putting another unnecessary responsibility and obligation I'm actually volunteering to participate in and to give my energy and my attention out to. Where can I be more decisive? Where do I need the boundaries? Where can I actually, bring that energy and that attention and pour it into myself? Where have I actually, squandered a whole lot of time and energy and action on ideas and creativity and focus and, conserved the energy and attention that I need to follow through? Because when you're creating, when you're trying to build and move forward and be focused on a direction in your life, you need your attention, you need your energy, you need all of that to be able to follow through on what you for yourself have chosen and decided I'm going to commit to. If your relationship is falling apart, where's your attention split? Where are you not giving your relationship or certain relationship dynamics in your life the attention that they need to actually thrive, to persevere, to sustain? Where are you giving to people who wouldn't even think twice to bust a grape for you? But because you're trying to be nice, because you're trying to be popular, because you're trying to be relevant, because you're not trying to hurt someone's feelings, you still have them, attached and you're still available to them. Your energy and your attention, which is really valuable, you still have them have some sort of access to it instead of just letting it go, being decisive. Put more value on yourself and your attention, and be real with yourself. Again, looking at ourselves is not an easy thing to do. Taking accountability, admitting that, the imbalance you see in other people, the judgment you put on other people, is probably also existing in something that is within you that you need to overcome, that you need to learn to stick out, learn to follow through certain things. And also your lack of attention on how am I going to say this? Your lack of attention towards commitments you've made for yourself will also impact your ability to follow through. Whatever you're following through on, don't spread yourself too thinly. Be intentional with where you're putting your attention and your energy and what you decide to commit to. Because you require your attention and your energy to be able to follow through to the best of your potential and your abilities with things that you've committed to. How can anybody take you seriously if you don't follow through? Because along the way you lose attention. Along the way you become bored because why? During your process you've allowed your lack of control, your lack of ownership over your attention to distract you and start putting holes and interfering with your process, interfering with the inspiration that you're supposed to actually be focusing your attention and your energy onto, and see your manifestations and your ideas and whatever it is that you're building for your pathway forward in your life. See it all through. So be intentional, don't spread yourself too thinly, and make sure that you're also spending that you're leaving enough attention and energy available for you, for yourself to spend more time in quiet presence. Okay. To be able to sit quietly with no interruptions and allow yourself to observe your inner world, observe your thoughts. Pay attention, be the observer of yourself in your own world. Pay attention to what's demanding your energy, what's demanding your thoughts. Where does your mind want to focus on when you're sitting quietly? What's trying to distract you? What's trying to come up? What from your past is trying to come up and have you look at it? But again, like I've said in the past in older videos, the moment you sit quietly and the things from the past, your soul starts bringing these things up that it wants you to look at and work out, you immediately get agitated, and it's so quickly, it happens so quick. You become, it's like it's an avoidance thing, right? Where you automatically just decide to get yourself busy with something. It's an unconscious of avoidance. It's like a mental defense that goes into play when the soul wants to start bringing things up once you get a chance to actually sit quietly and in silence. So pay attention to those things as well. When you see when things want to start coming up and you find your mind, when you're sitting quietly, drifting into issues from the past that might have hurt you, that might have caused imbalances, things that you haven't let go of, issues that you haven't forgiven or released, right? Pay attention to what happens inside of you. Do your mental defenses come up and start getting you busy with something else to protect you from having to engage those things that may be hurt in the past? Things you need to look at. Things that might be influencing you and your perspective and your digestion of your environment in the background that you don't want to look at, but you allow unconsciously to frame your reality, to frame your experience, to frame the way you interpret people on the outside and judge people, not realizing that it's actually something in the back of you on the inside that you're not trying to deal with, you're not trying to look at, you're not trying to overcome and release. Because once that happens, your whole world changes, starts to change, your energy starts to change, you elevate, you ascend, you learn something, right? But all of that can only happen if you start taking ownership of your attention and you allow your attention to belong to your life. Not the collective noise, not the suggestions of the collective, not the displays, screens, and everything else. start giving some of your attention to yourself. Okay, start becoming more courageous to look at yourself, sit with yourself, hear yourself, deal with yourself, talk to yourself, engage with yourself, have the conversations with yourself that you wish other people would have with you. Always looking for somebody to talk to, somebody to validate you, but you never take the time to just sit with yourself, talk to yourself, validate yourself. You're thinking, but you're not actually looking at and talking to yourself, hearing yourself, looking at yourself the way you would hope for somebody on the outside to look at you. So much so to the point that even if other people on the outside look at you, because you don't give it to yourself, it'll never be enough. If you don't see yourself, you'll never fully feel seen by somebody else, because you don't know what it looks like and feels like to look at yourself. You want somebody else to tell you about yourself, but you don't want to tell yourself about yourself, right? So take some time and start just, doing a recon, checking out how, being honest about your attention distribution, and thinking about where can you pull back and keep for yourself. Okay, take ownership of your attention. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I hope it's resonated. I'm today going to pull a card from the Miguel Ruiz and Don Ruiz deck with Janet Mills, okay? And the deck is called The Fifth Agreement. Okay, let's see what Spirit has to support our conversation, and see if there's anything that will give somebody a nudge in a specific direction, okay? Let's see. Spirit, may I please have one card? Just one, please. Go again. May I please have one card? Thank you. I love and respect myself. Okay. Love yourself enough, respect yourself enough to put attention onto yourself and to focus your attention on yourself and not give your attention away just like it's nothing, right? You literally pay the system with your attention. So understand how valuable it is. The system only survives as long as your attention is on it. Bad situations, bad dynamics, chaos, everything in your life only thrives and survives as long as your attention is on it. So that shows you what kind of a superpower you actually have. That's another superpower. Your ability to decide what you do and don't put your attention on, what you are and are not going to amplify with your attention. What you give your attention becomes your reality, becomes your experience. So you have the power to feed something, not to feed it, to feed conflict, to feed useless things online, whatever it is. It only thrives and is a part of your space and your reality and your thought space and whatever it is that's also participating in turmoil or unrest or whatever emotions you're going through consciously, unconsciously on the inside. It's all because you give it attention. You don't have to give people who irritate you or people you don't want to have in your life the attention. Eventually they will disappear and go away. But you have to take control of your own energy and your attention. Okay. So, well, yeah, the card says, I love and respect myself. And at the back it says, I see my authentic self. Look at yourself, give yourself attention. And I love what I see. Don't be afraid to look at yourself. I see the magnificence of my presence. I see the perfection in me. And this breaks any doubt that anyone ever put in my head. Right? So also don't give attention to the stories that people have fed you, that over your lifetime you've bought into and decided to believe that that's who you are. Create your ideas of yourself around the things that you've decided to give power to, that you've allowed to give you validation of yourself, of your existence, and of what it is that you have been told you should believe about yourself, right? Start putting the attention to yourself and building your own view, building your own view of your experience of yourself, and stop always relying on the experience other people have of you, okay, for them to narrate to you, or whatever it is, what their experience of you is, to actually believe that you're something, or figure out what you are. Figure out what you are for yourself by putting your attention to yourself, looking at yourself, okay? It's nothing to be afraid of. You're not supposed to be what the outside world tells you you need to be. You're not supposed to be what the outside world has created for you to try and mirror. Don't be afraid of not being that. Start learning to be okay with yourself, to be okay not matching and aligning to and reflecting everything that the outside world has told you you need to match and reflect. Okay? Don't be the person who goes lifetime after lifetime after lifetime unable to just look at yourself. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there, family. I hope it's resonated. And yeah, like, share, subscribe. I will see you in the next video, okay? Bye.